So I've got a question for you. Have you ever streamed a gaming session only to find it missing that fun element? Would you like to know how I changed my gaming streams from just meh to absolute chaos at times? Do you want your chat to literally jump for joy, fight bosses, and dance on the screen? Well, if so, this guide is just for you. Stream Avatars, the ultimate way to bring your viewers to life. I'm Tombi, and in this video I'm going to show you how to install, set up, and master Stream Avatars, from customizing your characters to epic chat battles, to creating a stream experience your audience will never forget. So buckle up, grab your coffee, and let's stream to life one tiny avatar at a time. Let's get to it. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pop over to Steam and go to the store page. Just type in and search for Stream Avatars, where you'll find it. And it's not expensive for what you get. Obviously, it's not going to be free. But for the grand sum of £12.79 in the UK, which comes out to probably around about $14 American, and probably about the same for the euro, it's not a bad deal. Now, once you've purchased it and once you've installed it, it takes up very little room. Now, there is this option down where it says downloadable content for this software, extra upload. When we get into the setup for Stream Avatars, you can actually download many different avatars from the Steam Workshop all for free, but you need to have the necessary space to upload those to the engine that runs it in the background. Because this is kind of like an application that runs locally, but it talks to a back-end system, a back-end server, where it collates things like your chat and a few other things to bring the characters to life. You need to have a certain amount of space available. Now, this additional content just makes sure that you've got all the necessary space to upload as many avatars as you would like. I certainly purchased it, but I purchased mine directly through Patreon, and you can do the same. So once it's installed, we're ready to go. And just like any other application, it exists within your Steam library. Now, this registers itself as a game, so therefore when you're importing it into OBS, Meld, or any of the other applications, any of the other studios, you will have to add it as a game capture. Now, I've gone ahead and already done that. So what we'll do, we'll now cross over to the game capture, and I'll take you through the application. If we go back up to General, so within the general section, we've got various different tutorials available to you. So if you click any one of these, it'll bring up a new window with a URL, and I'll take you to a YouTube guide for how to set up those from the actual creator of the application themselves. So make sure you pop across and give the creator a bit of love. For now, we are going to skip most of those things. Now, some of the questions Now, some of the options you've got available: who can spawn. You can list it to just subscribers, just members, or a whitelisted set of people. And you can also direct whether they're in chat, whether they're active chatters, or whether they've added the command to be added. So you give the power over to the people that are in chat. Now, limit viewers spawned. Now, this is entirely up to yourselves, and it depends on how busy your channel or how busy your chat is. But what you can do is limit this to a reasonable amount of people that are on the screen at any one time, and also have a despawn timer, not excessively long, because what you could have is someone pops into the chat and says hello. They would appear in Stream Avatars and appear on the screen, and then they're just sat there doing nothing if they're lurking. So one thing I would always advise is who can spawn everyone, active chatters, limit it to 30, and make sure that you've got them on screen for no more than 90 seconds. If they keep on chatting, they'll always be on the screen. If they stop chatting after a minute, then they'll drop off 90 seconds later. So it's always worthwhile just having some limits so your screen doesn't get completely chock-a-block full. Windows settings will allow you to set the sizes as well as the background color. Now, the background color, this is quite important if you're going to use the application within a window, say EVMux, where you can remove the chroma key. So if that was the case and I was going to be sending this as a source over to EVMux, I would change the background, make it into a green color. I would select that, and I would then use this as the chroma key for deleting the background once it got to EVMux. For everybody else, if you're just using it in OBS, Meld, or anything like that, leave it as black because it's transparent aware. So when you go into OBS and you start to capture it, always make sure you've got the select transparency option set when you're capturing the game. I always lock my resolution. I don't want to change it, and generally I set my resolution at the size of the window, so that when I'm streaming, it's going to be the full size of this screen at all times. So let me put that back in the right place. There we go. Well done. And so I always set it to the size that I'm going to be streaming at. In this case, it's going to be 4K because I stream at 4K. Now this scales down quite nicely when you eventually render it out to 1080p sources, say Twitter, Twitch, and Rumble Kick, for example. But for YouTube, I stream it at 4K, so I leave it at 4K. Lock resolution. Don't go mad on your application frame rate. The more frames you push into the application, obviously the more taxing it's going to become on your graphics. So 20, even 15 to 30 is more than good enough. At the end of the day, we're talking about avatars, so you don't need a high frame rate with them. Hide mice when minimized. I don't normally hit the connect on startup, just in case you need to go through a re-authenticate. Just leave that as is. Avatar settings, so leaderboard effects. So when you are playing certain games within stream avatars, there are things like leaderboards where you can collect currencies, collect scores. So I leave everything basically turned on. Roboto is a nice font to use for your chat. So when the avatars are actually chatting in stream, you'll be able to see it. It's actually a nice font to watch. Everything else I leave as is. For example, bomb costs. Bomb is another one of those commands that the players can use against each other. For example, bomb Tombi. If someone used apostrophe bomb Tombi within the chat, then the avatar would go across and drop a bomb next to me. But obviously there is a cost associated with it, and that cost you earn from basically watching and interacting with the streams. There's all sorts of there's all sorts of actions available to you. I won't go through them all, but generally you can have plenty of good fun within the chat. Events wise, so if someone follows you, if you then do dances, if you then do donations, all of those can be enabled and can come up on screen. So because the application talks to your chat, it will see any kind of like bits, tips, subscribes, follows, and all that, and can react accordingly. So definitely have those up. Data settings is more to do with where you're going to save and how often you're going to save. I normally have mine set to cloud save because we're using stream anyway, so there is some cloud saving there, and then that way you don't have to continuously download all of the packs if you need to reinstall. Viewer extension panel. Now this is the panel we're talking about with regards to Chrome and Twitch. So I always make sure that the interactable viewer extension is enabled. If I've got Patreon, then I'm logging in. Obviously I've got this. The Twitch panel link. Now this comes up automatically in the chat as the game is enabled, or as stream avatars is enabled. So also make sure that these are clicked and these open. I do have the extension being linked, and it's every 5 minutes for me. So every 5 minutes a message will come up from the bots that's associated with stream avatars, and it will basically give a link to the extension so people can interact and download it themselves. Various offered chat messages, which you can change if you want to. I just leave them as blank. You don't need to commit to any form of changes. You can just use it straight as is. So once the application opens, this is the screen you're going to be faced with. You get a lot of configuration options down the left hand side, but we'll focus on the most important things rather than going through all the options. I just want to get you up and running so that then you can start experimenting, looking for yourself. So over on the left hand side, the top left hand corner, you've got the connect button. Now this is what actually connects and sets up the stream avatars to then appear on your screen. But in order to have that connect work, you've obviously got to go through your streaming platforms, of which you've got Twitch, YouTube. I use Twitch, YouTube myself. I also use Kick. They're the main three. Sadly, Rumble's not included at this point in time, but Rumble will come in time, I'm sure. I've got the two buttons to allow for multiple platforms to work at the same time, as well as adding this platform to the outbound connection. And obviously I've also got the platform login for myself as Tombi, but I've also got a bot login as Tombi bot, and you can see those two connections up the top. So you've got Tombi up the top, you've got Tombi bot. They're the two accounts that I've connected via YouTube. If I want to pop across to Twitch, you'll see that I am connected on both of those with exactly the same, but obviously these are now Twitch accounts. And when you press this button, a page will open in Chrome, allowing you to complete the login and complete the authentication. Once you close that window, this will then update. You'll get a green marker to indicate that everything is successful and you are connected. And Kick is the only one where I don't have a bot account, which is why it replicates exactly the same name across for both. But there is only the single channel there. Now, once you're happy and you've got your platform set up, which is all found in login details, then we can start moving on to some of the more fun stuff, which is straight into the Steam Workshop. Now, this will give you a list of pages, and believe you me, there is so many pages here, it's going to take you a long time to cycle through. But say we wanted to add some Marvel characters. So I can type in search, Marvel characters, the ones that are available. There are many, many pages, but say I wanted to install Rogue from Marvel, hit download, hit the continue button, wait for it to download. It will give you a warning message if it's going to overwrite anything. I've had no problems with just simply accepting the warning every time, and I've had no problems since. So once that's downloaded, it will then be available for any of the members of chat to select from the list of characters that you're providing them to select from. So we'll give it a quick minute, and by the power of the internet, we'll speed this up. Okay, now we've got Rogue Marvel success. Do you want to import it? Continue. And that's it, that done. That is now, that character is now available for anybody to select. And you can do that for all of the different packs. There are complete Marvel packs, there is single characters. If you wanted to have a look at DC, you can find DC superheroes, do exactly the same again. Hit the download button, wait for it to download, make sure you import it. Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, if you like the old Turtles arcade, you can add those characters. There are many, many, many to choose from. Now, there's some categories of downloads. Now, if you hit the all, you'll find some are bosses, some are avatars, some are backgrounds. Now, the main ones you're really looking for is bosses, avatars, and backgrounds. The bosses are actual entities within streaming avatars that the chat can enter a battle with and do a little bit of interactive play. They can assume the role of a damage dealer or a healer or a tank and attack that specific boss. So if you look for bosses, you can install those packs, and if someone says that they want to use one of the commands, which we'll discuss in a little bit, they can actually start a boss battle against one of those enemies, and then the whole chat can join in if they want to. Likewise, you've got your avatars, so these are all the standard avatars that they could select: Kirby, Among Us, Animal Crossing, you name it, plenty there to choose from. And the last one is the background. So if you wanted to, you could also add a background behind your screen to allow the characters to actually exist upon. Now, I often just make my own, so I download the sprites for, say, Mario, and then once you're in the background section, which we'll touch upon later, you can then create your backgrounds and then add that as another part of your scene. So we'll do that as well. But Steam Workshop itself, fairly easy. Select it and then you can go through your list. Quite often you will be just cycling through all the next pages and finding your favorites. Quite nice and easy. There is obviously an upper limit on what you can use, what you can download in terms of total size, which is why I often recommend getting the DLC as well for the extra space. But that allows you to then obviously use all of those characters in your chat, and away we go. So once you've downloaded all of your avatars, now's the time to actually see what those avatars do. And to do that, you can jump into the Avatars and Gears menu, and at the top of the screen you've got a drop-down list for all of the avatars that you've downloaded. They are alphabetical, so if you want to find something in the list, you have to just remember what the name is. But for me, I'm just going to select on Elastigirl, and straight away this brings up the avatar for this one. Now, one of the good things that you can do when you're on this screen is have a look at the previews for what they do. So each one of these is a various set of actions, from idle to walk to sit, and if you hit the preview, you'll then see what that avatar does on screen. Once you're happy, save and exit. Now, you can do a small amount of changes, changing the size, changing the scale, but for the most part, I generally just leave these alone, because once you're in the actual Stream Avatars window itself and it's running, you can change the scales of everything from there in one go rather than individually. But this gives you the option. You can edit the height, you can edit the width, you can edit the scale, you can edit the frames per second, and then save them, and then that will be saved and registered. So once you're happy with your avatars, we've also got different options within the application and different things we can also do. Looking at the sounds, now with the sounds you can import specific sounds for specific actions, such as when some of the mini games go off. I generally just leave those alone up until I'm ready to set up my full stream, so whether it's the characters, the bosses. So I generally leave sounds alone. Okay, next is backgrounds. Now, I'm not going to dwell too much on this because you can spend an awful lot of time here, but you do get the ability to add and create your own backgrounds. Now, in order to do this, it's well worth having a couple of resources ahead of time. Now, sprite packs are readily available for most games on most platforms, and one of the well-known ones that I generally do use is MarioUniverse.com, and where you'll find Super Mario World sprites and various other different sprites, all free, all already collated. Now, these come down in packs, so if we were to go into Super Mario World sprites, wait for that to load, you'll get a whole list of different sprites available for the game. Now, what you want to be using in Stream Avatars is mainly the tiles. So it's the tiles that you want to look at when it comes to looking at obviously creating your own background. So if I was to select randomly one of the tiles, you can see that the top left hand corner you get the tile set and you get basic background for a level. But this tile set here is essentially what we want to use. Now, that tile set isn't really particularly useful to us because obviously it's all of the tiles, all of the singular images are all captured within one. You've got to use a application to split those out, and I use Sprite Sheet Slicing Tool, where you load the URL, you load the image into this tool, set the normal size, either it's going to be 8x8 or 16x16 or 32x32, and then looking at these, they are 32x32, and then it will chop the image up into the individual sections. Now, I will provide a link in the description and I'll tag that in for you to use. I've already pre-cut up some of these so that you don't have to. Now, once you've got these images and you're ready to go, there is a specific folder where all of these live. Now, within Stream Avatars, up the top, you'll see this open folder. When you click on this, it'll open up a local folder, and within one of those would be the folder called Backgrounds. All of your sprites, your cut up images, need to live within inside that. So that's the next thing we're going to do, is we're going to make sure that's loaded. So we open folder, wait for the folder to load, and once we're happy that our tiles are loaded within that folder, we can then access them through Stream Avatars. Now, obviously, there is a tutorial, and it's well worth watching the tutorial. So this is a URL link that the creator of the application made for Stream Avatars, specifically for creating your backgrounds. But in the drop down, you'll hit the create new. When you hit the create new, streaming, we'll just give it a quick name, streaming background, and you'll get the new button says current stage selected, and then you hit edit. When you hit edit, it's going to basically bring up this red line at the bottom. That red line indicates the level that we're currently on. And at this point in time, we should be able to hit save and reload quickly. That should bring up the new images. So I'm going to go back into that streaming background, go to edit. I should have my list of tiles. Now these tiles, obviously you probably want to have your window open so you can see exactly the tile that you want to load, which is tile number 378, tile 7 for me. So I'll scroll down until I find that in Stream Avatars, which is this one, and you'll see that it loads up the specific tile, and then that is available for me to now drag and drop. At which point you can clone the object, and once you've cloned it, you can just shimmy the item across until you're happy. Now, a couple of things to look at: the X and Y positions. What I like to do is just check between the two objects. So if I select the first one, you'll see that the X and Y position. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say 470, just rounding it up, and I'm going to say 32. Once I'm happy with that, what I'll do is I'll use exactly the same numbers. So that places it directly on top of the next one. We'll make sure 32 is in the right place. So that sets it exactly the same. We want to move this one by 32 because these are 32 pixels wide characters. We want to move this across 32. So that should be, oh, so these are looking like they are 16 wide. Okay, so these are 16 wide. So as long as when we're cloning, we are just migrating this number 16 wide. Now, one of the tools that I would say, or one of the things that could help you, is just using Excel or just having a calculator side by side, because we're going to be taking 16 off this number each time, and then just migrating the image across. Once you've got it all in place, and by the magic of the internet, we'll do that now. So now that the level is all created and a mysterious cat then appears, go on, jump across my desk. Good old kitty cat. Good old kit. Where you going? Come here. There you go. Lie down. So now that the level is complete and I'm being attacked by cats right now, thank you. We're now ready to essentially save it and then use this as the basis for our avatars. So cool, everything's good. Let's save that up at the top corner. Just make sure you save it and then it does the reload. So our background's created, just a nice simple one. You can go absolutely mad with your backgrounds. You can spend an awful lot of time, and with the tile sets you should technically be able to make a complete Mario level should you want. And if you really want to push the boat out, make the sizes of the levels and incorporate your things like your game, your camera within the scene as well. So there's no reason why you can't put tiles in a 16:9 frame on your scene, and then you can put your webcam inside it, or a much bigger 16:9 for your games, and make a full background based on, say, Super Mario. So once that is created, you can just leave it there. It is now ready to go for when we go live. Next thing that I just want us to quickly look at is some of the bot commands. Now, these bot commands are what is going to be available for the chat to use when the application's running. Now, they're going to put these into the chat directly, or if you're over on Twitch, or if you've got the Chrome extension installed, you can actually use those two extensions. It's built into Twitch directly, but also the Chrome extension does allow you to log in with your username and details for Chrome or Twitch, and then directly interface with the application, providing that the streamer's got those activated. But you've got a various number of different commands, each of which is available. Chat, for example, if we wanted to do bomb, when you look at it, you'll see the command that it's expecting is going to be apostrophe bomb. Minigames, so these are the games that are available to the chat to play with. So slots, so if people wanted to do some in-chat gambling, you don't lose anything, you don't gain anything, but it's just for fun. Same roulette, same with jump catch star, so if the game is running and the star is on screen, the chat can use apostrophe jump and try and catch the star. They'll earn themselves some points. You're able to duel each other. So, for example, apostrophe Tombi duel, let's say Smooth the DJ. And then what will happen is my character will go over to Smooth the DJ's character and initiate a duel, and Smooth would have to then accept or decline. Once you've accepted, you'll then go for a duel where you two fight it out until one of you is victorious, and then that person gets the points. Battle Royale, everybody fights, so which is always good. So apostrophe Battle Royale, all one word, and everybody fights, and whoever becomes the winner gets the points. Basketball as well, so basketball you get split up into two teams, whereas boss battle you're always against a boss. So during the boss battle is probably the most complex one, because people have to join the boss battle, then they have to select what character class they want to be, whether you want to be a damage dealer, druid, healer, tank, you name it. Very much tabletop RPG. And then you've got certain abilities that you can use against the boss. You have to put those all into chat. So when it becomes your turn, it will ask you what you want to do. It will come up on screen. You then select the option, and that will allow you to engage the boss and hopefully defeat the boss and get the prize. Everything else is basically to your own devices to look at, but we've gone through enough for you to see and enable the application. So we're going to hit connect. So as you can see on screen, Tombi is in the right position and he is quite small. Now, when you select up towards the top, you'll see this quick access menu. This will allow us to set the scale of the characters, so you can make them really, really small or really, really big. I normally set that at a size that's relatively good to see. Chat bubble size, so I normally have everything maxed out with the exception of the chat bubble size, which I leave on the second pip. Now, in the drop down next to the disconnect is where you select your background. So if I select the streaming background, you'll now see the streaming background will appear, and the character is now able to interact and walk across that entire scene. Now, obviously that's not completely across the page. You would have to, in your backgrounds options, you'll then create your entire scene. I just added enough for us just to see the example. But so once you eventually go live and your stream is recording data, that's when your chat will start interacting. So up until then, you can obviously set your background correctly, so make sure your background's the complete length. You can add additional elements in there, and this quick menu at the top does allow you to inject some additional components, such as some traps, some bosses, some stars. You're able to drop bombs, add some gifts, various different ways of interacting with your chat. Always have the auto hide at the top, because the last thing you want to do is be showing this on your screen anyway for too long. So what will happen is once I'm in game, that will auto hide and no longer be seen. If you want to go back to your other blank background, just select none, and then it will reload, and then the characters will now run around as if they were running at the bottom of the screen. So the very last thing is to obviously add stream avatars into OBS as a window. So this is where you want to select game capture, and whilst the connected stream is shown on one of your other screens, you want to select capture specific window, select the streaming avatars. I always just make sure that allow transparency is selected as part of the application to make sure that it's see-through and that the characters only appear on the screen. You don't get any of the black screen. Capture cursor, you don't necessarily have to have on, but definitely tick the use anti-cheat compatibility hook, just in case there's any applications there that are going to cause problems from an anti-cheat perspective. And that is it. That is it added to your layout. And once it's running, you'll see the avatars running at the bottom of the screen. But for now, the guide is complete. That should be sufficient enough for you to get on, create your levels, import your avatars, connect to your chat, and then the next stream you go live, have a little bit more interactions. But until next time, guys, thank you very much indeed for watching. As always, hit the like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff, and I'll see you on the next guide. Bye for now.